Let's be honest. You're exhausted. You're tired of playing the nice guy, tired of being the reliable friend who gets cold. Only when something is broken, and deathly tired of watching people with half your intellect take the opportunities you were too polite to grab. But here's the bitter pill you need to swallow before we begin. You taught them to treat you this way. Every time you let it slide to avoid conflict, you weren't being a saint. You were being a victim. You've spent your life building a prison out of your own good intentions. And you're shocked that you're the only one locked inside. You think being warm-blooded and empathetic makes you a good person. No. In the real world, it just makes you prey. Niccolo Machiavelli understood something you're too afraid to admit. The world isn't a playground. It's a meat grinder. If you aren't the one turning the handle, you're the one being processed. Today, we are going to dismantle your delusions of moral superiority. I'm going to show you why becoming cold-blooded isn't a descent into villainy. It's the only logical response to a world that feeds on the weak. By the end of this, you will learn the 5 ruthless laws of the shadow mind, and pay close attention to the final law. It is the ultimate deception, the one secret that allows the most powerful men in history to commit the darkest acts while the world cheers for them. Stop being a good man. Start being a formidable one. 1. The Mirage of Mercy. Let's look at what Machiavelli actually told the elites in The Prince. He didn't suggest you should be a mindless thug. He suggested you should be a refined actor. He famously argued that because men are ungrateful, fickle, and greedy, they are much quicker to break a bond of love than a bond of fear. Love is a chain of obligation that people break the second it suits them. But fear is a dread of punishment that never leaves them. Machiavelli's smirking truth is simple. If you have to choose, and in this life, you always have to choose, it is significantly safer to be feared than to be loved. Love is a favor they can withdraw. Fear is a reality you control. You operate under a pathetic, fairy tale delusion. You believe that mercy is a virtue that people will recognize and reward with loyalty. You think that by being understanding when a subordinate misses a deadline, or forgiving when a partner disrespects your boundaries, you are building a reservoir of goodwill. You are not. In the eyes of the predator, your mercy isn't seen as a choice. It's seen as a lack of options. When you forgive a slight without a consequence, the other person doesn't think, how kind am they? They think, they are too weak to punish me. You've mistaken your inability to strike for a moral compass. You are like a declawed cat, acting like it's a pacifist. Deep down, you know the truth. You aren't being merciful. You're being terrified. The cold-blooded mind understands that mercy is a currency, and if you hand it out for free, you hyperinflate its value until it's worthless. Strategic cruelty, or at least the capacity for it, is what gives your kindness weight. To become cold-blooded, you must adopt the doctrine of the sudden strike. When someone crosses a boundary, your response must be disproportionate and immediate. Why? Because the goal isn't just to stop the behavior. It's to stain their nervous system with the memory of your capacity for coldness. If you want to be truly kind, you must first be capable of being a monster. Only then is your restraint a choice. Until then, you are just a victim waiting for a master. In social dynamics, people do not follow those they love. They follow those they cannot afford to offend. You must become the person that people check in with before they speak. Not out of respect, but out of a primal, subconscious fear of the ice in your veins. 2. The virtue of being feared. Machiavelli didn't just suggest fear as a tool. He laughed at the idea that you could survive without it. He argued that men love according to their own will, but they fear according to the will of the prince. Think about that for a second. Why would you ever leave your safety in the hands of someone else's will? When you try to be loved, you are a beggar, crossing your fingers and hoping they feel like being nice to you today. When you are feared, you are the banker. You hold the debt. Machiavelli's insight was that love is a thin thread of obligation that snaps the moment someone feels a slight breeze of self-interest. Fear. Fear is a heavy iron chain. It doesn't matter if they're having a bad day. They'll still obey because the consequences of not doing so are etched into their lizard brain. You have a pathological need to be the nice guy. You want to walk into a room and feel the warm glow of everyone liking you. You think that by being approachable, you're being a leader. In reality, you're just being accessible. and accessibility is the death of authority. You believe that if you're fair and kind, people will naturally want to work hard for you. You're wrong. They all work just hard enough to keep you happy while they look for a way to exploit your leniency. You are terrified of the silence that follows a cold remark. You're terrified of the look of discomfort on someone's face when you hold them accountable. So, you soften the blow. You add a little joke at the end to ease the tension. You've become a master of making people comfortable while they walk all over you. You think you're being a good person, but you're actually just a coward who uses niceness as a shield to avoid the heavy lifting of real power. To be cold-blooded is to understand the economy of dread. You don't need to be a tyrant, you just need to be a mystery with a sting. The most powerful people aren't those who are constantly screaming. They are the ones who are unnervingly calm because everyone knows exactly what they are capable of. If pushed, stop trying to be liked. Start being unpredictable. The minute people think they have you figured out, they stop fearing you. To implement this law, you must practice the cold reset. When someone oversteps, don't argue. Don't raise your voice. Simply withdraw your warmth entirely. Let the temperature in the room drop 40 degrees. Let the silence stretch until it becomes unbearable. Force them to wonder where they stand with you. Uncertainty is the father of fear. When you are a nice guy, you are a known variable, completely boring and easily bypassed. When you are cold-blooded, you are a black box. People will treat you with a level of caution and meticulous respect that love could never buy. Remember, it is better to be a king feared by his subjects than a clown loved by the circus. Let's pause. Half of you are already looking for the back button. Your stomach is turning because I am calling out the very virtues you've used to justify your mediocrity. You're offended. Good. That's the feeling of your old, weak self-image dying. If you're the type who needs a safe space and a participation trophy, leave now. This isn't for you. But if you're the one who's tired of being the runner-up in your own life, if you want to join the inner circle of those who actually pull the strings, then hit that subscribe button for the Shadow Mind Lab. We don't do motivation here. We do dissection. Now, let's move on. 3. Strategic silence and the void. Machiavelli knew that the most dangerous man in the room isn't the one shouting. It's the one who won't stop listening. He understood that a prince should always be a great asker, pulling information out of others while remaining a stone wall himself. He famously observed that most men are so desperate to be understood, so hungry to justify their own existence, that they will babble until they've handed you the keys to their own ruin. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. In the Machiavellian sense, silence is a vacuum, and nature, especially human nature, abhors a vacuum. When you stop talking, other people feel an agonizing, primal urge to fill that space. They will offer you concessions, reveal their secrets, and compromise their positions, all just to make the silence stop. You are a chronic oversharer. You think that by explaining yourself, you are being transparent or building trust. In reality, you are leaking power like a rusted pipe. You have this nervous tick where you feel the need to fill every lull in a conversation with a joke, an anecdote, or worst of all, a defense of your actions. Why? Because you're terrified of what people think of you. You believe that if you just give them enough information, they'll see things your way. You are wrong. Every word you speak gives your opponent a target to aim at. You believe your words are bridges, but they are actually breadcrumbs leading people straight to your insecurities. You're so busy trying to be understood that you've forgotten that the most powerful people are the ones who are impossible to read. You've made yourself a transparent book, and you're wondering why everyone knows exactly how to skip to the parts that hurt you. The cold-blooded strategist treats words like ammunition. You don't fire unless you're prepared to kill. To master the law of the void, you must learn to weaponize your absence, both verbally and emotionally. In a negotiation, when someone makes an offer, say nothing. Count to 10. Watch their eyes. Watch them start to sweat, start to fidget, and eventually start to offer you a better deal just to break the tension you've created. In your social life, stop being so damn available. When you reply to a text in 3 seconds, you aren't being efficient. You're signaling that you have nothing better to do. By creating a void, you force people to project their own anxieties onto you. If you are silent, they will assume you are judging them, or that you know something they don't. You don't have to actually be smarter than them. You just have to be quieter. Become a mirror. Let them talk until they've exhausted themselves. And then respond with a single, sharp sentence that cuts through their nonsense. True power doesn't need to explain itself. The void doesn't care if it's understood. It simply exists. And in its presence, everyone else feels the need to shrink or comply. 4. The necessity of the mask. Machiavelli didn't just understand power. He understood theater. He famously noted that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you are. To him, the truth of your character is a liability. He argued that a successful leader must be a great pretender and dissembler. You don't need to actually be virtuous, kind, or loyal. You simply need to be a master of projecting those qualities when the script demands it. The world is a stage, and if you walk onto it without a costume, you aren't being authentic. You're being an amateur. Machiavelli's smirk is loudest here. The most effective lies are wrapped in the skin of the truth. You have a childish obsession with authenticity. You think that being yourself is a badge of honor. You believe that if you just show the world your true self, with all your insecurities, your messy emotions, and your half-baked plans, that people will respect your honesty. They won't. They will use it to map your weaknesses. By insisting on being real, you are essentially handing your enemies a blueprint of your fortress. You think you're being brave, but you're actually being lazy. It takes effort to maintain a mask. It takes discipline to suppress a reaction. You wear your heart on your sleeve because you lack the self-control to hide it. You're the person who just says what's on their mind, oblivious to the fact that the person listening is taking mental notes on exactly how to manipulate you later. Your honesty isn't a virtue, it's a leak. You are a glass house in a world full of people looking for stones. The cold-blooded mind treats their personality as a modular interface. You are not one person. You are a collection of masks, each designed for a specific utility. To master the law of the mask, you must learn the art of strategic hypocrisy. If you need to gain someone's trust, you wear the mask of the empathic listener. If you need to intimidate a rival, you wear the mask of the detached sociopath. If you need to blend in, you wear the mask of the average, unassuming employee. The key is that none of these are you. They are tools. You must develop a poker face of the soul. When you receive devastating news, your mask must remain fixed. When you win a massive victory, your mask must remain fixed. Why? Because if people can see what moves you, they can move you. By becoming a cipher, a blank screen onto which others project their own assumptions, you remain untouchable. You become the ghost in the machine. While everyone else is busy reacting to the world, you are busy curating the world's reaction to you. Remember, the man who wears no mask is a slave to his moods. The man who masters a mask is the master of his fate. 5. The executioner's clarity. Machiavelli was never more cold-blooded than when he discussed the necessity of well-used cruelty. He told the story of Cesar Vebord, who hired a ruthless henchman to clean up a rebellious province with brutal efficiency, only to have that same henchman executed and left in the town square once the job was done. Why? To show the people that, while the peace was necessary, the cruelty belonged to the subordinate, not the prince. Machiavelli's lesson is a razor to the throat. To rule, you must be able to sever ties, eliminate threats, and discard people the moment their utility expires. And you must do it with the heart rate of a man pruning a hedge. If you cannot be the executioner of your own sentimentality, you will eventually be the victim of someone else's. You are a hoarder of useless relationships and dead-end loyalties. You keep people in your life, friends who drain you, employees who underperform, partners who disrespect you, simply because of history or guilt. You think this makes you loyal? It doesn't. It makes you a landfill. You believe that ending things or cutting people off is a failure of your character. You agonize over the hard conversation for months, allowing the rot to spread throughout your entire life because you're too squeamish to pick up the scalpel. You're terrified of being the bad guy in someone else's story. You want to be the hero who saved everyone, but you're actually just the martyr who let everyone drag him down into the mud. Your empathy has become a leash, and you've handed the other end to people who don't even like you. You are drowning in the shallow water of your own niceness. The cold-blooded mind operates with the executioner's clarity. This is the ability to look at a person, a project, or a habit, and ask one question. Does this serve my ultimate objective? If the answer is no, it is deleted. No sentimentality, no one more chance. No looking back at the wreckage. To master this law, you must perform a strategic purge. Look at your circle. Who is a liability? Who is a whisperer of doubt? Who is simply dead weight? You must develop the surgical detach. You don't need to be angry to cut someone off. In fact, anger is a sign of attachment. True coldness is indifference. You stop calling. You stop caring. You remove them from your mental map as if they never existed. This clarity also applies to your own failures. When a plan fails, the cold-blooded man doesn't grieve. He conducts an autopsy. He identifies the flaw, discards the broken parts, and moves on immediately. You must become comfortable with the social death of others. When you stop fearing the act of ending things, you become infinitely dangerous. People will sense that your presence in their life is a privilege that can be revoked at any second. That realization that you are willing to walk away and never look back is the ultimate source of power. It makes you the only person in the room who cannot be held hostage by their own heart. The lesson is over, but your trial is just beginning. You are currently standing at a crossroads. You can click away from this video, return to your comfortable delusions, and continue being the nice guy that everyone forgets the moment you leave the room. You can go back to being the prey, hoping the world treats you better because you're good. Or you can accept the heavy burden of the truth. You can choose to become the architect of your own power. But let me warn you, once you develop the executioner's clarity, there is no going back. You will see the strings on everyone around you. You will see the weakness in their eyes, and you will have to live with the fact that you are no longer one of them. The choice is yours. Remain a footnote in someone else's biography, or become the author of your own empire. If you've survived this far, you've already taken the first step toward the shadow mine. Subscribe. Join the inner circle, or don't. The world will move on regardless.